Okay. Today, my guest is Professor Jan Selmer. I'll keep my introduction short to maximize our time with him. In the next 30 minutes or so, we'll talk about Jan as a person, Professor Selmer as a thought leader and an esteemed scholar, and finally as a mentor to many PhD students and junior faculty. For the sake of time, I'll skip many of his accomplishments and give you a very quick snapshot. Professor Selmer is an emeritus professor at Aarhus School of Business in Denmark. His research is on cross-cultural management in China, expatriate management, intercultural training, and Swedish management. He is the founding editor of Journal of Global Mobility and the author of the book, The Research Handbook of Expatriates. He has served the field as an editorial board member of 5 international journals. He has published extensively in all our top field journals. He received the Best Paper Award from the International Management Division at AOM, as well as various awards such as the President's Award for Outstanding Scholarship Performance from Hong Kong Baptist University. Thank you, Jan, for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Perfect. So I thought we lost the voice, the connection for a second. Jan, what did you want to become when you were a child?
Well, I was very interested in airplanes and flying. I built model airplanes and so on and so forth, both flying and not flying. And I wanted actually to be a fighter pilot. But then I ended up with glasses. So that was out of the question. They need 100% earsight for fighter pilots. So it took me all the way to the 1990s when computer simulation became a little bit more advanced. And then I became a fighter pilot.
Oh, you completed the series. You completed the sequence on that one.
No, you have simulations. So okay. I ended up in the Second World War, where you can still see your adversary. And I used that for relaxation for several years. Now I haven't done it in a long time, but it's also good for training up your reactions, because you need to react very quickly as a fighter pilot. I can tell you that.
I see. So, Jan, where did you grow up?
I was born and raised in Sweden. And this is a very small country, so it came natural to me to be interested in the rest of the world, which I was from early ages. I was a voracious reader as a kid and had a lot of books translated from English about Beagles and all of the other heroes for kids, at least for male kids. And I had a lot of books, so I was already in the reading mode when I grew up.
And Jan, how did you choose academia?
Well, I was doing another thing that most people don't know about me. I was working as a professional musician in a dance band. And then the last band I was member of just closed down. And so I was looking for another way of supporting myself, because I was at the same time doing my BA studies and also taking a master in political science. So I needed some money, And this was quite hard work, actually, because we used to play at night, of course, and sometimes involving long travel. We used to play not every day of the week, but at least 4 times the weekend and Wednesdays. And when the other guys could go home and rest, I had to go to university or study. So sometimes you travel all night coming back from a gig, and then you just have to get on with your real thing.
Yeah. Well, what did you play? What was your
Tenor
instrument?
sax.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Pardon? Tenor
About
saxophone.
perfect.
And I was early into jazz in the 1950s. And when other youngsters were looking at Elvis Presley, my favorite were completely different, and I didn't think much of Elvis Presley at the time.
And so you decided to get into academia. And how did you choose international business? And within international business, you are doing a lot of HR, international HR work on expatriates, cross-cultural management. How did you choose this area?
Yeah, that's a long story, so I'll take a bit quick about it. As opposed to many other, not all, I looked at some other of your interviews, and not many other people start right away into this area. I didn't. My PhD dissertation was about mathematical programming with an organizational twist, but we'd rather not go into that. And then came the oil crisis or energy crisis, whatever you call it, of the 70s. And it was dominated by engineers. And I thought, I don't think it's a complete engineering business, because all of these things have to be managed in organizations. And I was interested in energy conservation in buildings, because those consume the most energy, and oil. And those were the ones where conservation was most needed. So I did that for a long while. And then I was leading a group of students for a study trip to Southeast Asia. I was asked by the students to do this. And together with a colleague, we went to Thailand, we went to Malaysia and to Indonesia, visiting Swedish companies. And that was a real eye-opener for me. And then I realized that this is what I'm interested in. This is also important, because those companies had huge problems. And we were very interested in also finding out what kind of problems I had with trying to manage business operations in a completely different cultural environment than Sweden.
So let me ask you something. If let's assume that your band, the dance band, is dissolved, and you decided not to go and pursue a PhD, what would you do? What's the second best alternative career path? Looking back now, what would you have done, which would be a better alternative or second best alternative at that moment?
Probably I would have gone into political science, because that was, I was very interested in political science, and I took actually some advanced studies there too. And but then I realized from knowing the academics in that circle that I also needed a job. I needed to support myself. And there was not much of a career. So I realized that when I got an opportunity to join the business school, I did instead of that. And then it went from there. Although through mathematical programming and energy conservation, I finally ended up in my current phase of my academic career, which is global mobility and expatriation.
Perfect. Thank you. What is something that is not on your CV that people might find interesting about you?
Well, I'm already sitting among the fruits of one of my hobbies, which I started a long time ago. I even continued when I was living abroad. And another thing that people don't know about me is that I'm a beekeeper, hobby beekeeper. My father was a hobby beekeeper, so I was brought up with bees. And when I got a house of my own and could support myself and pay the mortgages, I started beekeeping because I thought it was very, very, very interesting. And I still find it very interesting because when I came back from living abroad for more than 20 years, then I started doing it again. So now I still have 2 colonies in my backyard.
Oh, that's interesting. So first is orchids, right? You mentioned orchids.
Yeah, but first professional musician.
So first
I would say.
musician. Second,
Yeah.
Tropical orchids.
Yes.
Second one, beekeeping, right?
Yes, yes.
How does the bee? I don't know anything about the beekeeping. So isn't it too cold? Isn't it too cold to keep them outside? Like, are they in a closed area? Like, how does it work?
Yeah, they live in hives, and they overwinter. And in Sweden, they overwinter quite well, actually. That's why they collect honey to overwinter, because they eat that honey to keep warm during the winter. They live in big. This is one of the few insect societies that overwinter as a big group of insects, like ants also do. But wasps and the bumblebees, for example, they're only the female that overwinter.
Interesting. It's actually quite interesting. What is one thing you wish you would have done differently? Regrets, the question about regrets.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this question, but I can't come up with any good answer. I've always been lucky enough to been more or less served a lot of opportunities, and I've selected among those, and I think I've been able to select reasonably well among those things. So I have few regrets, actually. I didn't even make the classical expatriate mistake of selling your house when you go abroad, because when you come back, the prices are quite different because of urbanization. If it's in the neighborhood of any capital area, capital city, like my house, then I wouldn't have been able to buy it back. So I kept it, and I'm still living in the same house I were in before I left.
Wow, that's interesting. What are you most proud of?
My most.
What are you most proud of?
or proud of. Oh, that must be something that happened relatively recently, because I've had a long academic career, and that's starting my journal of global mobility, because there is no such other journal, and still isn't. We started it 10 years ago, and so we will be celebrating our 10th anniversary this year, and it really serves a purpose, because we are all it's a bit of a niche journal, but still that's also the strength of the journal, because we are all experts inside this area, global mobility, so we can handle submissions in a very skilled way. So, and I think over the years we have made a difference, and we hope to improve much on that in the future. So this is probably the best thing I've done in my career, to start this journal. It was much more trouble than I thought, much more work than I thought. But now we have learned a lot how to do it, and it's getting easier and easier.
Thank you. Jan, how do you explain your research and the importance of your research to non-academics, people who don't know or who don't read academic journals?
Yeah, that's not too difficult, because it's easier for people to realize, especially in a small country like Sweden, that outside Sweden things are different. Not everything is like Sweden. And going abroad, running a business, making money has to be done in a different way. Most people realize that. So it's quite easy to tell them that I'm trying to help companies and help to discover more knowledge about how to do this, and it's most people understand that. It's not too difficult to explain what I do, and
Okay.
since I keep to my area and don't try to do too many things outside, I try to focus on this. This is the absolute main thing of what I do. So that's a good explanation, I think.
Thank you. Jan, about the things that we have omitted or neglected, things that we have or we should have done more of in IB research. What do you think about things that we should cover more of?
My research. My research is almost all of it is on the individual level. And sometimes I get a little bit annoyed of the way that IB has developed. It's so much institutionalized. It's so much talking about bigger entities like companies, like regions, and all sorts of things. When it's impossible to understand anything if you don't know how people who make the decisions behave and think. So companies don't make decisions, people do. And to be able to understand how companies behave and react and plan and all that, Uh, you need to behave. You need to understand how people do these things, because people are the ones making the decisions. I understand that you need to summarize the whole thing and look at macro perspectives of different kinds, but I think it's too little of individual-based research in IB.
Okay, so I'm curious about the progress of the field, especially now that we've gone through 2.5 years of COVID, the pandemic, and there's always been a decline in expatriation, and companies try to do many things remotely or in short bursts. They didn't really do a 2-year, 5-year relocation of people, and they basically wanted to do shorter bursts, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Especially, for example, big multinationals like Coca-Cola or Pepsi, when they were doing it. What is in your opinion, that is specific about global mobility? What is going to be the next phase in the next 5 to 10 years? What are we going to see? What's the big trend?
Yeah, I'm very happy that you asked this question, because this is one of my new interests. This is something that me and a number of colleagues have been thinking about, and we also publish a perspective paper on this, what we call virtual global mobility. So some part of what was before physical global mobility will be replaced in the future. And everybody is complaining about all the negative effects of the pandemic, but it has also had some positive effects. Now, what you and I are doing now was completely incomprehensible as impossible 10 years ago. And to have contact electronically over long distances is no big deal anymore. And of course, just having electronic contact, but this could be more efficient, and from an organizational point of view, there could be no other choice. So it could be both cost efficient and necessary. So I'm interested in the quickly developing technologies, the technologies of communication like this. And I think that some of what was before done by traveling, by short-term assignments, might be much less in the future. Not only because we could get a new pandemic, but because companies think that this is more efficient to do it this way. And there will be more and more development here. One thing that struck me is, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the band ABBA from Sweden. Most people are.
Of course.
And they are reuniting again. And they are giving a concert in June in London as avatars. And they are planning to sit in the audience themselves, watching themselves as avatars. And the avatars are already know how they look. They look like they did 40 years ago when they closed down shop. So this is something that is irresistible, I think, and also efficient, because the technology is going so fast. And many companies will try to find out how they both can save money and do things that they could not do before.
I mean, there is something to be said about this virtual reality, virtual worlds, virtual marketplaces. And for the past, I can't remember exactly when it started, but maybe about 10 years ago, there was a virtual marketplace created, and companies actually used the marketplace, multinationals used the marketplace for training purposes across their subsidiaries. Many companies used it, but it didn't really pick up. And recently, with the metaverse, they are now trying to revive it again. The concept is being revived again. But as far as avatars and paying real money to watch our avatar, I'm not really so sure on that one. But about the impact of nationalism, populism, that is gaining a lot of prominence in the world. How is that going to impact the global mobility or expatriates or companies, expatriates, employees overseas in the next, say, decade? The impact of nationalism or populist policies and ideologies.
Yeah, I got it. I think many companies and political institutions in developing Western countries will realize that we are in the same boat. At the end, we cannot survive or prosper without trade. And the things that we see today is, I think, something that is used by politicians, but it's not really a viable way forward, because we are what we are, and without the help of somebody else, you cannot do much these days. It's impossible. So they will find out the hard way that one thing is saying that we are better than you are and we don't need you, but they will find out that they do.
True. Jan, about the advice and the mentoring portion, what do you see over your career? What did you see? What do you observe as the common mistakes that young scholars, junior faculty, PhD students usually make? What, in your opinion, what are the things that people should not be doing, the wrong things to do?
Yeah, I can refer to myself, and of course from what I've seen in others. A lot of young people, young scholars today, they want to publish, or let me say, they also need to publish, and they are in a hurry. And they just want somebody to work with to get the publication out. And I think that's a mistake. I think they should focus on an area, not just jump from here to there and having the need or the urge to publish as the first priority. They should stick with what they know and stick to one or maybe two areas. I've done it jumping out a little bit, not a little bit, from mathematical programming to energy conservation to to expatriation. So that's quite a big jump, but I didn't do it at the same time. I did do it sequentially, and now I've been doing the last phase of my career for the last 30 years. So and that way I've become quite familiar with an area, and it's also easier to follow what happened and what might happen in the future. So you should focus on one area. Another thing that I've been doing, and it's not for everybody, I realize that. I've been an expatriate academic myself for more than 2 decades, living abroad as an expatriate, self-initiated expatriate, of course, most academics are. And most of the time in Hong Kong, first in Singapore and then 15 years in Hong Kong. And I always, that way, had it rather easy to evaluate both research ideas and research output. Is this anything useful? Yes, it makes sense to me. Then it might make sense to other expatriates. So this is the first acid test of the usefulness of practicality of the research. And coming from that, I always try to dig where I stand. That's what I call it. Dig where you stand. Go to yourself, go to your own experience. Is there something here in what you experience today or experienced before, or talk to other expats or other people, local people, that is something that can be made into a research problem. And so many things of what I've done have come that way. Not 100%, of course, but this is still, to this day, has helped me a lot. And the anecdote I told you about ABBA also helped me to convince myself that the future is at least partly much more virtual than it was before.
Thank you. Which skills were more or most difficult to develop for you? And which skills are more important in the fields for a successful career?
Well, I tend to think that research is a cooperation business. And if you cannot cooperate with people, then do something else. Very few have succeeded in academics on their own. Of course, we have such names, but like Einstein and others. But most of us are not Einstein, and we need help from others, complementary or maybe even enhancing of what you are good at yourself. But we need help. So I've always tried to work with people. Although I've done a few things on my own, but most of what I've done is together with others. And yeah, and I've tried to both find somebody that I can work easily with, that have the same motivation. Actually, I retired formally almost 15 years ago. I'm still going at it. I cannot stop. That's my personality. That's how I am. I still do research. And I run my, with the help of others, run my journal. And this is natural to me. So I need somebody that's self-motivated and is reliable to work with. And when I find that person, then we can do a lot of work together. Some of my co-authors you see in many of my publications. So that means that we both have found something that has helped us both.
Thank you. Jan, for the sake of time, last question. What's the question that I should have asked you but haven't?
Yeah, that's a very good question also. But I have to refer to what you didn't know, because it wasn't in my CV. My orchids, my bees, and my professional musician career. So all of these things it seems like it's a good occupation for retirees. But I started all of this long before I retired, long even before my career when it comes to the musical things. So it's just a way of realize that work is not all your life. There are other things there too, and they could be completely different than just work. So I try to combine it, and I think I've been quite successful in doing that. Don't just work yourself to death, because nobody will ask you, and you only have one life. You need to have a real life full of other things also. That's my answer for the question you didn't ask me.
Beautiful, thank you. It was interesting. It was very interesting for me. I learned a lot. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm sure the audience will agree with me. Thank you, Jan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me and inviting me. I really enjoyed it too. Thank you. Bye-bye.